What clues can we get from the ancient symbols in the game? Love magic? Elemental magic? Was the stained glass in the Great Hall destroyed before Bellatrix Lestrange in Deathly Hallows? How we can identify the ancient runes which have been hidden for a long time from the others in the trailer? And finally, we take a look at the symbols, we decode correctly some runes, and look at the art styles. Welcome Magic people, I am Mark Zealman and this is your channel for magical games. Coming at you from the UK, home of Harry Potter. Yes, it's been a while. I was on holiday for a couple of weeks and then I got COVID. And also, I don't know, I've been a bit uninspired lately. I think I got a little bit burnt out. Kind of treading water a bit since Wizards Unite went away, and it's kind of like, without the pressure of having to do loads of events, it's kind of hard to get motivated. Sometimes it's just difficult. I'm not a particularly hypey person, so if you want like a level-headed approach to things, very Ravenclaw, very factual, that's kind of me, basically. Now, if you watch some other videos from other creators, you might see some of this stuff is actually quite familiar. Unfortunately, they've released kind of the similar content. I think we've all, because we're all working off the same sources and the same trailers and stuff, I think we've kind of all had the same ideas because we're all running off the same thing. They're just all coming up at different times. I think probably all of us, Animagus and Expect to Go and myself, have all been working on these same videos for quite some time without each other's knowledge, but just happen to be coming out at the same time. So here we're going to talk about some of the symbols and a particular rune I have seen mistranslated in another video. It's not really a mistranslation, it's not a full translation. I'll clear that up a little bit later. So we're going to look at the runes, the symbols of light and dark, swirls and mysterious stained glass. So starting off with runes, you may have seen this rune before in another video, and it is Viking in origin, I think. Now we can kind of dismiss the origin as J.K. Rowling likes to change the origins to make things fit the narrative. We can probably assume this is the same here. This may not be Viking in origin, it may be ancient magic in origin. But yeah. Move on to the actual meaning of it. Now this rune is made of two symbols. Ansuz symbolises the father of all gods, Odin, as well as communication and spiritual power, and Ingwaz letter symbolises bounty, peace and energy. They're kind of two put together. You may have heard this before in another video recently. However, when you combine the two, the meaning changes. You don't just add the two together. It actually means something completely different. So the two letters together symbolise the power and greatness of love. Now, of course, love comes up a heck of a lot in Harry Potter worlds stuff. Love is an extremely powerful and ancient source of magic. It is the ancient protection that saves Harry from Voldemort when he's a baby, and continues further. So to quote the great man Dumbledore, you would be protected by an ancient magic of which he knows, which he despises, and which he has always therefore underestimated, to his cost. And speaking, of course, of the fact that your mother died to save you. Another quote, you are protected in short by your ability to love. And final quote, you have been loved so deeply, even though the person who has loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. And of course, if you play Wizards Unite, there's a whole room in the Department of Mysteries dedicated to love and magic. Again, going back to Albus Dumbledore, he says there's a room in the Department of Mysteries that is kept locked at all times. It contains a force that is at once more wonderful and more terrible than death, than human intelligence, and forces of nature. It is also perhaps the most mysterious of the many subjects for study that reside there. It is the power held within that room that you possess in such quantities, and which Voldemort has not at all. So some of you may know my strange Albus Dumbledore theory, being the child, and some sort of prophecy around it. But this could be a further link. Albus was very much into the whole power of love thing, and this could be maybe where he started to learn it. The ancient magic we have mentioned in the trailers and stuff could well be love, and we're going through the events that lead up to the construction of the actual love room itself. Or maybe it's just one of many aspects we need to put together to learn the ancient magic. So, moving on to our next symbol is the Triquetra. This symbol appears all over history, even on Thor's hammer in Marvel's cinematic universe. To the Celts, the 3 points represents the nature elements of earth, air and water. On a spiritual level, it has also been thought to symbolise life, death and rebirth. From what we know about ancient magic, which is very limited, which is why the game is kind of centred around it, because they can kind of write their own narrative. Anyway, it's related to kind of nature itself, sort of like doesn't require a wand kind of thing and just kind of happens. like raw magic. Perhaps this symbolises some sort of connection that way. Earth, air, water, love together, maybe. So that's the kind of rune translation sort of sorted out. So now we're going to move on to the mysterious little swirly thing that we see everywhere. Now, this first obviously shot here is an obvious indication of it. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And I'm going to continue to put a few slides on the screen which show you all the different places where this swirl appears, as in the angle and that kind of matches. It feels kind of like a natural swirl. It's quite cool. I think it's a great feature, and it appears to be the symbol of ancient magic that we're doing. So much so that we can identify every single ancient magic room just by looking at the artwork in the room itself. Because once you start looking at the swirl, you can't stop unseeing it. It's kind of everywhere. So we can assume that each room that we see this swirl in is some sort of ancient hidden room that we are the first to discover in yakety yak years. Now, of course, Ranrock appears in one of these rooms, so he's obviously following us around and probably finds his way into one of the rooms when we're in there and meets us along the way, which has blasterous results. Also, this swirl is seen in Dumbledore's first wand in Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore. We have no details of the wood, length or core, which is unfortunate because that's been quite a cool thing to analyse. I know that's been actually released yet. You can buy one though, if you want one in resin. But yes, I think this swirl matches very well the swirl of the wood in Dumbledore's wand, especially in some of these scenes where you have the swirl. Is it coincidence? I think not. A friend of mine, he works on Jurassic World Evolution 2, for example, and they're working on a DLC to go with the new Jurassic Park movie. Spoiler if you're into Jurassic World Evolution 2. Obviously can't tell me anything about it really, but obviously these companies, these game developers, know a lot in advance of what's happening in the movie world, so they can build content to go along with it. So it's not outside the realms of possibility that this swirl matches Dumbledore's wand for a particular reason. Now moving on to light and dark magic. Now we know we can be a dark wizard of some kind as well. So there's a lot of discussion around this. So we know we can do light and dark magic. Another clue could come in the talents menu, as shown in the trailer. And I expect to go done a video on this. I've deliberately not watched it, just because I don't want it to influence mine ideas. I want to see it afterwards and see kind of what we came up with. So it's kind of that thing like where you earn talent points and you can assign them to bolster certain aspects, to customize your character as you kind of want them. So I know the first one is room requirement to improve your abilities in there. I guess it reduces like brewing time and stuff like that, or potential success rate. I assume there's some sort of failure rate in the things you brew. The second is stealth, which you've also seen on the trailer here.
Abilities by choosing talents to upgrade your spells, plants and potions to increase their power.
And the third are core skills for overall effectiveness. I'm guessing critical hit rate, spell power and all that sort of stuff. Defensive power maybe, potato power. And of course, the two remaining have been deliberately left out. So I believe these to be dark magic and light magic. So dark magic is in red because I know everything evil is as red. And light magic is blue because you know everything pure and divine is always blue because that's the way Hollywood tells us how things work. And also, if you look at it at the detail, the light magic is depicted by the sun symbol, a symbol of light, and dark magic uses deep reds, and it's kind of like spiky, like a devil kind of thing. And the character is kind of hiding his face in a hood, looking a little bit sheepish. So I can assume that that's probably the case. So I'm going to assume that these things are where you can assign talents to light and dark magic. There are different numbers of things you can assign points to, so like slash of slash. I do wonder if these things expand the more spells you learn. So maybe if you learn another abracadabra, for example, that'd be another thing you can place a talent to. Or it may just be something to do with strength and all that sort of stuff. Who knows? Who could say? We'll find out in December. Or maybe summertime when they do give us an update. Now we're going to move on to this stained glass in the Great Hall. This one is kind of fascinating. In the game trailer, the stained glass is lit very bright, and we can clearly see there's the moon symbols and things like that in the background. I am very guarded against introducing theories based on what we see in areas covered by canon. So, be it movies or books, it's very easy to start reading into things that may just be there from things in the movies. However, with this particular window, you can clearly see it's very different from the ones in the movies. It's a completely different design. So, what happened? Why did the design of the stained glass change? All we can conclude is that the stained glass was broken before Bellatrix in Deathly Hallows. Well, actually before Harry turned up at all. So maybe it's trying to tell us something in-game. We know there's a lot of symbolism in this game. For example, in the design artwork, this particular screen grab has symbols all over the place. It's just insane. So why would the developers deviate from the movie version of the stained glass if they're not trying to tell us a message? So, moon cycles probably could mean something quite significant. Something really bad happens in Hogwarts and we smash the stained glass window and again I have to get a new one. Who could say? So in conclusion, going back to this one particular screen grab, the dedication to symbolism is astounding. If you know any more of the symbols here, please let me know in comments below and we can revisit the topic again later. Have any questions about anything, just leave them below and we can start doing research into them. Perhaps we can actually answer a few, who can say. So one thing we can say about these games is when they're designed, there is a lot of work that goes into making things tied together. If you look at some of the way these movies are made, there's one particular good YouTube video which goes into the music of Harry Potter and how Hedwig's theme is actually in every movie, but it becomes more twisted and dark and sinister and stuff like that as the movie goes on. There's also the uses of light, themes. For example, in The Matrix, everything in The Matrix was green, everything outside The Matrix was kind of blue, so you knew subtly in your head whether you're in or outside The Matrix. I've seen other movies which use red light elements to indicate that danger when they're in a room and stuff like that. It can be very subtle, may not be subtle. So it's really interesting to see kind of try and read into what this trailer is actually showing us. So very fascinating stuff. So let me know in the comments what you think below about the symbols and stuff. If you have any additional translations for any other symbols which we have seen here, that would be cool. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Mark Zealman for the latest information as when it comes out, because doing these videos takes time and this is kind of like a hobby for me. It's not really like a serious business or anything. So yeah, I'll see you around. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't done it already. Hit the like button if you liked it, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for other magical things that could be turning up. So the last thing to say is don't forget to brush up on your spells so you can write your own Hogwarts Legacy.